Hello. Let's dive right in. Let's take a couple of deep breaths here. Close your eyes if you wish. And just take a deep breath into your heart and through your nose. Getting centered. Asking to receive whatever you're meant to receive in this moment. Another deep breath in, feeling into the body. What feels true? What feels true? One more deep breath in. Exhale it out, sigh it out. Allowing the sounds to wash over you. Now, we're gonna get into 3 different piles, and I invite you to pick your pile, pick your message. Today, we're contemplating the question that the question is intuition getting louder than the pattern? So you may feel that your intuition is strengthening right now because the pattern is getting quieter. So I'm gonna bring out my Buddha here. This is going to be pile 1. If you resonate with the energy of this Buddha here, then you are being called to pile 1's message. Pile 2, we have this Archangel Michael, the sword that cuts through truth and reveals discernment. The sword that severs your tie with the pattern and allows intuition to become more clear. If you resonate with this figure, this Archangel Michael, then you're pile 2. And now we have this indígena. It's an indigenous figure that I got in Colombia. If you resonate with this beautiful female energy, this indigenous figure here, then you are going to be pile 3. Pile 3 message is for you. So, if you're pile 1, I got into the Thoth deck, my new deck, and the message that is loud and clear. This is the Tower card in the Thoth. What's clear right now for you is that the old structure that held your old pattern in place has been destroyed. And now all that's left is your intuition. So it's not that your intuition got louder, but it's that the pattern stopped being stable enough. See how this structure is unstable? it's falling down. The pattern stopped being stable enough for you to suppress what you already knew to be true. For you to suppress your intuition. You can't suppress your intuition anymore because whatever was holding the distortion has collapsed. This may have been a sudden upheaval, or it could have been a sudden insight of, oh wow, I finally see this clearly because whatever was holding my distortion is no longer sustainable. So yeah, there's a lot of heavy imagery in this card, but what really stands out to me is that tower can no longer stay up. And your intuition, your third eye is shining through. And you see how like it's so noisy. There's so much noise in this card. And it feels as though the noise of the pattern got disrupted. And the only thing that remains is the intuitive insight, is the transformation, is consciousness that is flowing through you at this time. So the truth has already been shown and it cannot be recontained. It cannot go back inside here. It cannot be recontained once it has arrived. So yeah, and it feels like your honesty with yourself after this disruption cleared the distortion that you may have been operating in, which is beautiful. And it's like the pattern is no longer stable enough to stay put anymore. And as the pattern dissolves, your intuition can now be seen. So it's not that you're kind of like increasing in your psychic awareness. You already had it. But whatever was blocking it is now out of the way. So, and it feels as though whatever was blocking this is the 10 of Cups here. So whatever was blocking your intuition was a false sense of emotional fulfillment here. The 10 of Cups represents this energy of feeling like something is fulfilling when it's actually not anymore. So it can also be like things that are inherited from your family or from society about what happiness looks like, what fulfillment looks like. But intuitively, like, you're starting to realize that whatever you thought was emotional completion and fulfillment is not actually true for you. So the Princess of Cups came out. You see this figure, that's her face right there. And she's holding this cup and there's a fish in the water. So it feels like there's some unconscious material that's able to come up in this moment. You're able to, with this lotus flower, grow out of those muddy waters, that confusion, that distortion that the tower cleared out for you. And now with when you're reconnecting with your intuition, you're reconnecting with these waters and with that unconscious material that's showing you right now that you're in a space where you're deeply in touch with that unconscious material and you're deeply in touch with figuring out, okay, that was not emotionally fulfilling. That was a false sense of happiness. And now you're in a space where you're feeling into what actually makes me happy. What feels like emotional fulfillment to me? What is true happiness? Not what everybody else says happiness is. Not what I thought happiness was. not what I thought fulfillment was, but what you're actually feeling into it from an emotional space, not from the mind. So, yeah, like the Princess of Cups is helping you stay soft enough to hear your intuition after this collapse. Whatever had to leave your life has created space for this psychic awareness. Like you're holding that cup and you're listening to that fountain, to that watery energy within you. And you're listening, what's gonna make me actually feel good? Instead of being in this illusion of everything's fine, everything's perfect, I have this in my life, this is all together, and I'm fulfilled because I have these things. I'm fulfilled because I have this relationship. I'm fulfilled because I have it all. But it's like, are you though? I feel like the tower really illuminated that intuitively you already know you were maybe not fulfilled. And now the tower is illuminating to you and helping you intuitively decide what you want to call in that's actually in alignment with what fulfillment means to you. So, yeah, I feel like what was really illuminated to you through this tower moment was you're deciding right now that you're no longer going to stay in something that is not emotionally fulfilling to you. And you cannot pretend that something is fulfilling to you when it's not. Maybe the tower energy forced you out of that, or maybe you consciously decided to shift. So let me flip the page here. I wrote so many messy notes about these cards and these energies, but yeah, like whatever was blocking you was removed. So now you're in this beautiful watery space where you're just collecting all this information from your emotional body and from your subconscious, and all of the intuition that was hidden or blocked has been removed with the tower, and allowing you to be in this deep, deep space, this dreamlike space of what is actually true for me? What do I actually want to call in that feels deeply fulfilling in my life? Instead of just following the blueprint of those that came before you and what they thought was a fulfillment. So like an example of this could be that maybe what you were fed as a child or fed from society was that emotional fulfillment means being in partnership, right? And like you lose all your worth when you're single, and being emotionally fulfilled means being with someone else. And maybe you're realizing, like, and this is just an example, but you realize that you were in partnership and you didn't feel emotionally fulfilled. So maybe you ended that partnership and realized, oh, okay, I stayed so long in that partnership because I created this illusion of emotional fulfillment with this person. But then realize that I shouldn't be in partnership just because I have this blueprint idea, inherited idea that is fulfilling, that is the definition of happiness. It's like you're completely reframing what that means to you. So in the example that I'm sharing, if you've gone through this example, it's like that page, that Princess of Cups energy is realizing that you can actually be emotionally fulfilled on your own. And from that place, you can call forward a partnership that feels emotionally fulfilling. You don't have to stay in partnership just because it creates this idea of happiness or fulfillment. It actually has to feel deeply true on the inside. So that's just an example. This could apply to many, many facets of life. And it feels like you're redefining You're redefining your relationship with fulfillment at this time. Because whatever felt fulfilling in the past quite literally collapsed. It literally just got destroyed, and all that's left is your knowing. That's all that's left now. You didn't really get to choose. So yeah. So the intuition right now is getting louder than the pattern of this is what happiness is supposed to look like. Or it's getting louder than idealizing what no longer feels fulfilling. Sometimes we idealize or romanticize certain situations to hold on to that feeling of feeling like it's fulfilling. But when we idealize, that's in the mind. You can't think yourself into being fulfilled. You have to feel it within. That happens in the heart. That happens in the emotional body. When we're thinking from our mind and saying, oh, this is fulfilling because X, Y, and Z, that's the ego. That's not genuine fulfillment deep down. So it's like when you know deep down you're not fulfilled anymore, and that collapses, like you're being forced out of that pattern. And that's why your intuition right now is much louder than that pattern. And it's like you're no longer gonna stand for fulfillment that is an illusion. That's not something that you can hold space for anymore. That's not something that you can contain and keep anymore. It's done. It's literally done. So yeah, like you're reawakening your emotional and intuitive perception right now. That is a part of you that's reawakening, and it needs patience, and it needs tenderness, and it needs you to be an active participant in that emotional process of reawakening. And it's like sometimes we're taken by surprise. Sometimes we think that something is fulfilling because it's familiar. That ties back into the 10 of Cups of things being inherited from family, culture, and conditioning. Sometimes we really think that something is fulfilling, and then it just collapses and we realize that it wasn't. And it can be shocking. But it's also a beautiful homecoming when you realize that you intuitively knew that the whole time, and you're just remembering. You're remembering your deepest truth. You're remembering what's deeply fulfilling to your unique soul. What's fulfilling to you is not what's going to be fulfilling to everybody else. So, yeah, I mean, that is how your intuition is getting stronger than the pattern right now. And I hope that you can be in this beautiful, vulnerable space of psychic openness with this card. The energy of the Princess of Cups felt really nourishing to me, because it feels like through this strengthening of your intuition right now, you're maturing into a deeper sense of groundedness in your emotional experience and in what truly feels like happiness to you. So like maybe societally, people say that, happiness is having a lot of friends. And maybe you don't have a lot of friends. Maybe you value having one or two really deep, beautiful, fulfilling, vulnerable, and rich connections. And that's actually what feels fulfilling to you. So it's like making that discernment of what feels deeply fulfilling to me, and how do I want to call that in? And kind of just forgetting about what everybody else what everybody else's ideas of happiness are, and really tapping into your own emotional landscape and feeling into what that is for you. Yeah. And also, like, these two in combination are this total rewriting of your script. You're throwing away that old script and you're rewriting your script of, this is who I am, this is what fulfills me. So yeah, this card also represents like ancient wisdom, slowness, gestation period. So you may be in a period of rewriting, relearning, gestating, becoming, remembering. Instead of jumping to the next thing that you feel is fulfilling, like really sitting with yourself. Really deciding intuitively first before jumping into anything outside of yourself. Like your emotions are still forming beneath the surface right now about the collapse towards intuition that you just went through. So be patient in this space. Allow your emotions to form and allow ideas to just arrive as you're in this space between the conscious and the subconscious here. Because this is an important space to be in before we step out into the world again and try to find fulfillment again, right? This is an opportunity to find that fulfillment within first and rewrite your script first about what fulfillment means to you. So yeah. And you might genuinely be in a space of figuring out what is fulfilling to you. Maybe you don't know anymore. Maybe you don't know what is fulfilling to you anymore. Because whatever you had in the past that collapsed, it wasn't. You thought it was, but it wasn't. So now you're in a space where you're like, what do I even like anymore? What kind of person do I want to be? What activities make me happy? What type of lifestyle makes me happy? What will fulfill me long term? Like maybe you're in this space of really sorting that out with yourself, of what everybody else finds fulfilling is just not for me. I'm unique. So you're kind of in this space of actually just figuring it out and experimenting with your intuition and what's coming up at this time after the misalignment quite literally collapsed out of your life. So yeah. And you said, fuck the script, goodbye to the blueprint. I'm gonna make my own blueprint. You're making your own blueprint. You're rebuilding your tower. You're rebuilding your sense of safety and structure and what it actually means to you to be emotionally fulfilled in your life. So yeah, like you said goodbye to fantasy fulfillment, right? You said goodbye to inherited fulfillment. You said goodbye to ego satisfaction and went back to heart satisfaction. You said goodbye to emotional excitement and you're saying hello to emotional groundedness. That's what's guiding you at this time, emotional groundedness. You're maturing into that energy. So it's like, yeah, you're maturing into a fulfillment that is deeply felt from within, not from what you have, from who's around you, from what you own, not from identity attachments, right? Not from having what your family thinks you should have, like this, you're maturing into deep sovereign fulfillment from the depths of your heart. Because whatever was blocking that has removed itself from your path. That obstacle is out of your way now. So now you get to be in this beautiful, playful energy, this dream state energy of, oh my gosh, I'm sovereign now. My intuition is illuminating my path now. I get to decide from the depths of my heart now what fulfills me, and I get to call that in. And whatever doesn't, whatever is the pattern, whatever is the distortion, I see it clearly now. So that's not allowed on my path anymore. I remove that obstacle out of my path now. It's not gonna get in my way anymore because I can see. I can see it clearly now. So that's powerful. That is powerful. And I'm excited for you in this new chapter because that's a powerful point to be at. And don't shy away from those quiet moments, you know. This is a powerful time to be listening to your psychic awareness and your intuitive musings at this time. You're literally rewriting your script. Not from here. From here. Okay? All right. Pile 2. Let's get it. Pile 2, Archangel Michael was who you chose. We love him so much. And this was so interesting because this totally relates to Archangel Michael, but the first card that came out was the 6 of Swords. See the swords here? And you can see, like, what you can feel from this card a lot is these lines over here, they feel like some sort of tension or some sort of overstimulation. But then with the swords here, it's like cutting through that. Cutting through the overstimulation, maybe overthinking, but cutting through the noise. You see, this is so, all this noise, it's like you're cutting through the noise with these swords here. So with pile 2, it feels like this energy of literally cutting through the confusion from these internal mental narratives that had been creating confusion. And this could also be like this mental fog of like not being able to see things clearly because of an overstimulated mind. That is lifting. And you can feel that is lifting right now as you're getting deeper in touch with your intuition, right? But it's like the way that you're becoming more in touch with your intuition at this time is because you feel more stability in your body, in your nervous system. So when we're in a phase of our lives where we're getting deeper in touch with our nervous system and we feel safe somatically in the body, then naturally all of the noise in the mind starts to lose its authority. So it's like your intuition is becoming cleaner because you're consciously reducing the distortion. Like you've decided to walk away from this distortion that was maybe actually causing you to question yourself or question your belief systems. Because I feel like these swords piercing through this cross here is really symbolic of like this feeling so overstimulated in your mind to the point where you're questioning yourself, questioning your beliefs and questioning your intuition, and you're moving away from that energy because you feel safer in your body. How amazing is that? Like, and it's like you may have been wounded or hurt from situations that you thought were stable, but it was a false sense of stability there. Like now you really are feeling a sense of stability in your nervous system. So maybe you could have like moved recently or like left a toxic situation or left a situation that wasn't in alignment for you, But there's something about like you left a certain energy consciously that was disrupting your sense of safety and stability within. That could resonate for somebody. But it's like naturally the intuition becomes louder when the body feels safe enough to stop over processing everything. When we overly process things in the mind, it means that the body doesn't feel safe enough to process with us. So your somatic safety at this time, your body feeling safe at this time, is restoring your perception. Like it's literally cutting through the distortion and restoring your perception, restoring your intuition right now. So let me get into some other stuff that I wrote about this, because I wrote so much on this pile specifically because these cards feel so intriguing to me. They're so different, and they have so much heavy symbolism. But it's like, I feel like you've made the decision to detach from what overwhelms your perception. Like I feel like you're starting to realize how to relate to your perception from a somatic place, which is it feels so weird at first, but you start realizing that that's the only way to do it. That's the only way to actually come into alignment and truth, is to feel aligned with something somatically rather than over processing everything in your mind. So it feels like whatever used to overwhelm your perception or whatever you used to overthink about, you're starting to realize, if I have to go into over processing mode and overthinking about this, then it's probably not for me, you know? But I think in the past, you're somebody who maybe used to over intellectualize and try to solve everything and try to understand. But now you're at a place where you're exhausted from trying to understand things, and you're like, if it doesn't feel stable and right in my nervous system, then it's probably not for me. And it's that simple. Like, you don't have to think about it anymore. Like, you trust your body enough to allow it to decide that for you. Wow. See, that's crazy. And it's like the Venus symbol shows up here with Aries. So it feels like whatever is in your highest excitement shouldn't feel overwhelming to the system, but it should feel nourishing to the body with that energy of Venus. It should feel pleasurable, and it should feel soothing, and it should feel just right in the system. It shouldn't feel like an anxiety that's like too exciting or too overpowering and that destabilizes you. So that's what I found interesting with that. And Mercury in Aquarius shows up here with the Six of Swords, which is kind of giving this, Aquarius kind of gives this detached perspective to things. So it's like you're finally moving into a place where you can detach from the overload of communication that happens up here. Like you can disconnect from all those stories and just cut to the truth. So I found that interesting. And the last card that came out here was the Two of Wands. We have Sag at the top. We have Aries at the bottom. We have these two wands crossing each other. And it's like, since you've cut through all of the mental noise that would distort your intuition, especially when it comes to starting something or creating something, like once you cut through that noise, you get to choose direction from a place of stability instead of adrenaline. So you get to choose to move forward with projects in your life, with decisions in your life, with relationships in your life, from a place of your nervous system feels stable and it feels right, not from a place of overexcitement and adrenaline and like thinking yourself into it, or feeling like, or even just like, you know, feeling like you'll miss out, or feeling like, but it's like, even if you, like, your body wouldn't feel all this anxiety about missing out if it was actually in alignment with you, you know, like that's mental stuff right there. So it's like, you know, you get to choose expansion without urgency. And I feel like Aries and Sagittarius create that beautiful relationship of paying attention to Aries, what feels exciting, what lights up my fire, what brings me that spark. And then Sagittarius kind of brings in that energy of, okay, we don't have to chase every spark, but which one feels like my highest expansion? Which option, which excitement feels the most expansive in my body? And then choosing what feels the most expansive, instead of overthinking everything and like going towards something that feels exciting without actually grounding and stabilizing into your somatic body and deciding from that place. So yeah, like you're stepping into intentional future building from a place where your nervous system actually feels stabilized, instead of this energy of like kind of just trying to figure everything out while overriding your body's sensations, overriding if it even feels safe. So yeah, this is the energy of like, what's being illuminated intuitively right now is not what excites me the most, but instead it's what can I build from a grounded place of clarity and safety. So clarity here, but also safety in the body, not one or the other, both. So it's like, yeah, number one, the mind has detached from distortion, even though maybe some emotions could still be there, or some resistance could still be there, but you've chosen to detach from the distortion, or maybe you were forced to detach from that distortion. And from that place, your direction now becomes intentional rather than reactive. So it's deeply intentional. Like, do you see how balanced this card is? It's that intentional movement forward from a place of feeling stabilized, not a place of trying to figure things out for survival. So yeah, intuition gets louder than the pattern, not when you try harder to hear it. So I feel like this really gives trying to hear it, trying to understand, trying to get everything to click. But instead of trying so hard to get things to work or click or trying to understand, you detach from the mental noise. And then your body is becoming safe enough to stop mistaking instability for truth. So anything that doesn't feel safe or stable in your body at this time, anything that activates that mental chaos and rumination, you now know intuitively, you know that anything that feels that way, anything that activates your system in a way that destabilizes you, you now know that that is not truth. You now know that feelings of instability are never going to equate your deepest truth. And it's so crazy to unlearn that when we've been living in chaos for so long. It's so crazy to unlearn that truth feels nourishing and stable to the body. Life is allowed to feel stable. We're allowed to chase our ambitions without feeling this insane sense of overthinking and like trying to figure out all these options. Like it's crazy to really land deeply in that intuitive knowing that whatever's right is going to feel safe somatically and is not going to have you overthinking. Is not going to have you in this mental over processing energy if it's truly right for you. So that's what's happening right now. And Archangel Michael, if you want to call him in, if you feel called to do so, Archangel Michael helps so deeply when we're stuck in the mind and we need to cut through the BS to see the truth. So if you feel like you're in this situation right now of trying to get deeper in touch with your body and less of that over processing energy, call him in and say, Archangel Michael, thank you for being in my field. Thank you for being in my life. I ask, if you're willing and if it's for the highest light, if it's for the highest good, that if you could please help me on my journey to cut through this mental noise and to help me illuminate my truth. Help me understand what is for me and what is not for me. Help me understand the difference between excitement and alignment. Help me understand the difference between intuition and over processing my thoughts. You know, something like that, a little prayer. But anyways, I think that's all I had for pile 2. Yeah, it's like, I love the 2 of Wands energy because it's like, expansion shouldn't feel like this urgent energy where we have to conquer every single thing in one day. You know, like, yes, it should feel exciting, but also it shouldn't destabilize your nervous system, you know? And that's truly what I believe, and you can believe whatever you want. But anyway, let's move to pile 3. If that was you, pile 2, I get you, okay? I get you. It be like that. It's hard sometimes. Especially when we operated in the mind for so long. Maybe some of you operated in survival for a long time. But now it's like you really have the opportunity and the safety to listen to your body now. Which can be scary and it can cause a little bit of anxiety. But any decision you make from this place is going to be so much more deeply in alignment with your authenticity, and whatever you create in this life, moving from that stable energy of that 4 of Wands, it's going to be beautiful and it's going to last long term because you have the stability to hold space for it. So yeah, that's that. Let's get into pile 3. If you chose this beautiful Indígena, you're pile 3. Okay, so I'm gonna flip these pages. I literally wrote this whole ass page about pile 2 that I didn't even read, but I'm just gonna trust that whatever I said was enough and it was exactly right for you guys. Oh my god, sorry, pile 3. Let's get into pile 3. So the first card that came out was this 8 of Wands, and this did come out reversed, and I'm gonna do reversals for my Thoth deck, and I know that a lot of people don't do reversals for Thoth, but I don't know, that's just how I work. I like to use reversals. But anyways, for pile 3, I found this card so interesting because it literally doesn't even look like it would be wands. I honestly thought it was cups just because of the rainbow. Because I just started looking at this deck and then it made so much sense to me why it was wands after I like deeply sat with it. And I felt like the rainbow kind of represents the harmony of like ingredients coming together to form this rainbow. So it's like, what does form a rainbow? You know, like certain ingredients in nature are what form the rainbow, right? And it's like all these elements coming together to create this harmonious beam of light, which is just crazy, right? So it's like, to me, I kind of took that in as the harmony of intellect and passion together that create this beautiful flow. And it also contains Mercury and Sagittarius here on this card, which I feel like really point to nervous system alignment, communicating to the intellect. So it's like that passion and intellect turning into what directs your ambition. And this card being reversed, you know, the Eight of Wands usually represents like this momentum. And I feel that this being reversed is pointing to the fact that right now, your intuition is a lot louder than the pattern of urgency. Urgency is losing authority in your system right now. You're creating discernment right now. So if you feel this strong sense of urgency about trying to have momentum on a certain project, but you're rethinking the feeling of urgency right now and what it actually means. Because if something is deeply in alignment, it's not going to feel urgent, anxious, and like you have to go, 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 go. That's a false sense of momentum. Like I feel like deep, true momentum is directing your ambitions from a place of not only passion, but intellect. Like, is this gonna work long term? Is this actually stable? Is this actually what I want? So momentum alone is no longer trustworthy to your system anymore. Momentum just alone by itself is no longer effective in your life. And you're realizing that right now. Like, you're being invited right now to see the bigger picture and to realize that all of the times that you may have chased a quick momentum in the past, a quick excitement in the past, it really never led to victory. I don't know if you resonate with that, but I feel like even looking back on my life, realizing that anything that I took my time with became fruitful, and anything that I rushed into out of a sense of urgency just never really worked out, you know? So I'm kind of just relating to this card a little bit with my experience too, but it's like, right now you're awakening to a bigger picture thinking rather than reckless action forward in hopes of feeling victorious, in hopes of feeling seen, in hopes of feeling successful. Because the Six of Wands came out as well reversed, which is pointing at the way where you are redefining your relationship to success at this time and beginning to see yourself before making decisions from a place of wanting to be validated or seen externally. So the 8 of Wands, 8 is fate. All the 8s kind of represent this idea of fate, and you're releasing your efforts to fate at this time, not by not doing anything, but by releasing, trying to figure out every feeling of excitement that passes through. Like, not everything exciting should turn into momentum. Not, like, you're allowing what is most aligned to call you forward from a passionate place instead of trying to push every exciting thing forward. So your intuition is strengthening right now by deciding what is momentum, what is excitement, what is aligned, what is not. Because the Hermit came out too, in reversed. And we're going to talk about the symbolism in this Hermit card, but it's like, you're being guided right now to make smarter choices and to surrender to the path of least resistance. So, yeah, the least resistance is not to urgently answer every single call, not to open the door to every single knock, not to mistake every single momentum and message that you receive as intuition. Not everything is a message. Not everything is meant to be chased. So, and sometimes excitement comes through and it's not supposed to be acted on right in this moment. Sometimes it's just a seed for later on. So you're really tapping into discernment about what feels alive right now and what is just fleeting excitement. What is just momentum that, I tapped into it and I was like, oh, okay, that's just like a distortion. Like, that's not really my highest excitement. Like, you're really deciding right now, like, what is my highest excitement? What is for my highest expansion? Not something that's going to get me seen by everybody else. Not something that's going to make me feel victorious or recognized outside of myself, but what feels deeply aligned within me. So it's about inner knowing versus forcing things to happen. Like, the rainbow's only going to form when all of these ingredients come together to form it. You cannot force that to happen. You can't force the rain to come down and force the rainbow to come through. There has to be this perfect alignment of the wands, the intellect, the ambition, the passion, the intuition, everything. And then that forms the alignment. Then your idea and momentum can take form in the physical, but it's the idea of giving that up to fate, giving that momentum up to a force greater than yourself, rather than forcing it into position. So, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get into the Hermit symbolism, because this is what I was sensing from it, is that you've been working with that pattern of overthinking versus, like, overthinking momentum and overthinking and, like, trying to force certain things to happen versus sensing. And that's when the Hermit comes in, reversed, by the way, as well. So you're being attuned to actually sensing into certain things. This pattern of trying to force momentum and trying to make every idea come alive, this pattern was able to stay alive the way that it did in the past because you were disconnected from your inner voice. And why were you disconnected from your inner voice? Because parts of you were still seeking approval from others, and that distorted your inner voice. Parts of you did not feel safe letting go of external validation yet. And when we don't feel safe, then we can't go deeper with ourselves because we don't feel safe enough to do so. So don't blame yourself. Like, this is all naturally happening in the perfect way. But yeah, like, this pattern was only allowed to stay alive because there was a disconnect, a fragmentation from you and your inner voice, from you and your primal instincts here, from you and your inner lantern, you and your inner light. There was something that was getting in the way of your direct communication with your inner voice. And you know, when we're not deeply in tune with our inner voice, we start getting confused, and we think that any type of momentum coming through to us, we should just grab it and take it and just go all the way with it and see what happens. But now you're being deeply attuned to your inner voice, so you can kind of like skim through the pages. You can skim through the options and deeply feel into it and allow your inner voice to guide what actually feels right for you, instead of what feels the most electric, right? So it's like part of your safety was still attached to external approval. Because the Six of Wands, yes, it is a card about victory and recognition and success. But in this instance, I deeply feel like connected to the Hermit and it being reversed is your safety was still attached to external approval, and it felt unsafe to you to follow the beat of your own drum and to feel almost this feeling of exile from the people that would give you approval, or from the energies that would give you approval in the past. So, but this is all undoing itself right now, and you're very much aware of that. But I get it. Like, it feels unsafe to lose approval and validation from sources that we would receive that from for a very long time. So you're learning how to feel safe being guided by your own inner light. Like, that's so beautiful. And there's like an egg wrapped in a serpent here. It's just this beautiful energy of trusting your deepest instincts, trusting your primal instincts, and knowing that they're guiding you, knowing that you're guided from a force bigger than you, deep within you. That's your inner lantern. And now what's happening is that external approval is losing its meaning to you. External approval doesn't mean anything to you anymore. And that's a freaking milestone. That is a milestone. And I think that you might be in a space where you're questioning what success even means. What does success feel like to you? What does success mean for you? Not what does it mean for everybody else. I feel like you're getting deeply in touch with what success should feel like. Should it feel like hustling? Should it feel like momentum towards a bunch of things that aren't even aligned with your soul? Is that success? No. Like, you're realizing that that's not what success means, to be in this constant hustle and forcing things to come about. Like, you're realizing that the path of the least resistance is where the truest success lies. And you're starting to develop this inner recognition, an inner validation system within yourself. Like the Hermit here, like, you're starting to realize that you can validate your own self, and you don't need approval from anybody else. And that is what's going to make you the most successful in this life, is to tune into the beat of your own drum, to listen to your inner light. Your intuition becomes louder when external validation stops overriding your internal truth. So it's not like you were doing this consciously. This is all deeply unconscious stuff, seeking validation. We don't do that on purpose, right? If we did that on purpose, we probably wouldn't do it. We probably wouldn't do that. But it's like this unconscious thing that blocks the intuition. Like, I want to really highlight the word overriding. Like, intuition becomes louder when external validation stops overriding your internal truth. So this could tie into some unconscious stuff, some traumas of feeling like you're gonna die if you lose approval from someone that you love. Like you're gonna die if you lose validation from someone. So yeah, like all the systems that used to override your intuition are losing authority in your nervous system right now. Like they are literally losing their grip on you. They're losing their authority. They're not in the driver's seat anymore. Your intuition is taking the driver's seat now. And your self-recognition is the most important thing to you right now. And I find that really beautiful. So, yeah, and I feel like when we flip over the Six of Wands, we can see that there's a beautiful harmony with the wands. They're perfectly in shape, creating this upward motion, creating this harmony, right? And it symbolizes triumph through aligned will. And that's what you're stepping into. Not distortion of will, like using your will for everything and anything and chasing all kinds of excitement and momentum. No, you're shifting into this quiet confidence. And this card has heavy Leo energy. So it's like this confidence of knowing your worth, recognizing yourself, recognizing how powerful you are. And through alignment, exerting your will into the world. But through this deep place of alignment and being in touch with your inner guidance system, with the Hermit here, being able to be in those quiet moments with self and allowing that inner alignment to create this the way that you move through the world, the way that you recognize yourself, the way that you're recognized in the world. And that Leo energy is really signifying that inner fire and that inner confidence. And that confidence even when nobody's watching. Because you trust your alignment and you starting to trust your choices now because you're coming deeper in touch with your inner guiding light rather than external validation. So you're at a very powerful place in your journey right now. I feel like this card really is the exertion of your life force energy, but in a very, very harmonious way. It's that inner victory, feeling victorious on the inside because you're so deeply in touch with that creative will within you. From a soul alignment level, not will through force, but will through the heart. So, yeah. Like you're realizing the value and really seeing yourself. And I love that for you so much. I really do. Like, your self-expression wants to come from a deeper place. Your self-expression doesn't care if other people love it or hate it anymore. Your self-expression doesn't care if it looks successful to the masses or not. Like, your self-expression is coming from a way deeper truth. It's coming from your inner light. And your inner light is the light of the world. It's the light of consciousness. It's the light of the universe. And you're allowing it to just flow through you in a way that feels fated instead of forced. In a way that, of course, it's for you, but it's also bigger than you. Wow. Yeah. I'm gonna leave you with that. That feels really, really powerful. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful to be here and to have shared these beautiful messages with you. And I hope to see you in the next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel called to do so. And I'm sending you love on your path, on your journey through your healing. And I hope you're having fun. And yeah, bye.